Welcome back to the Overrated Experience Sports and Sports Betting Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Blond, and once again joined by
Austin from Ajax, baby.
Here we go, week 17, week 18, final regular season week of the NFL. This season has flown by. We're going to get you ready for all your betting action. Unique week to say the least, and we'll take a look back at some games that happened yesterday, maybe some of the action that took place in the sports world leading up to this weekend. The Overrated Experience Sports and Sports Betting Podcast is your betting view, sports insight from the common person point of view. We're going to focus on the NFL. That doesn't mean that every time you tune in, it's going to be NFL focused, but because it is the king of betting, the NFL will be the focus here in week 18. A lot of things to go through, some teams that are already eliminated from the playoff contention, sitting players in week 18, and then also player incentives where a certain amount of catches, receptions, touchdowns definitely will play a factor leading into some of these games. We'll try to break those down. But first, let's look back in time. Let's go back in the time machine and look what led up to this week. So, Austin, what's new and exciting in the world of concrete?
Not much, work's slowing down, so I got more of a chance, I think, to, spend more time focusing on football, spending more time focusing on sports for the podcast, so that's a positive. But other than that, not much to report in the world of concrete. Got that interesting fact for you, though.
Okay, let's go with it right off the top.
Yeah, right off the top. Okay, today's concrete fact, a fun fact, if you will. Thomas Edison held 49 patents related to concrete, including patents for cement processing equipment, waterproofing paint, and innovative methods for building entire homes and furniture from a single concrete pour. He founded the Edison Portland Cement Company in 1999 and was passionate about concrete's potential, even envisioning concrete pianos.
Concrete pianos.
Yes, this guy was crazy, Thomas Edison.
Well, remember, he always saw the light. So that's that's his claim to fame.
He had some bright ideas.
Right, some bright ideas. Imagine already how heavy a piano is, and then you make one out of concrete, and then you decide, hey, guess what, kids? We're picking up moving houses, and we got to take the piano with us.
Yeah.
What's that experience like?
You're going to really hope you're one of those kids that doesn't move too often.
That's right. Oh, my God. Concrete pianos. That's unthinkable. But thanks for the concrete fact. We like to hear and educate on this program beyond sports. Speaking of education, you can follow the Overrated Experience on X at Overrated EXPER2. That's Overrated EXPER2. And you can follow the pod and see the video version of the podcast on YouTube at Overrated Experience. I know we're live streaming right now, and Austin's mic's a little low. We'll touch that up for an AI to make them sound smooth and clear as you download the pod. What's now leading up to this weekend? What's your betting life been like? Successful, not successful? Any horror stories? Any success stories?
Well, usually at this point in the season, I'm mainly focused on football, so I don't got a lot of bets going during the week. No real bad beats. Had a couple bets on the football games last night, though. I thought those are some pretty easy predictions. Didn't think the spread, just took two straight up wins, and they both came through. So the week's off to a good start so far.
Okay, so we'll talk about those two games in a second, but what I'll tell you is I feel like I'm in that stage that all bettors go through where you're just getting hosed. You're just getting absolutely torched and nothing can go right. So I had a few experiences. Italian soccer has been just like, I'm going to do the Italian thing in my hands. What the hell is going on? When I needed an Italian soccer game to have six shots on target and 2 goals, doesn't happen. They're like 1 goal, 5 shots on target, 7 shots on target to get to 6. Like it's just screwing with me. And then you get to college football. So on New Year's Day, we had 3 college football games, big in the college football championship. And the big one that stood out was I had a parlay going, and I looked at Georgia as kind of being, all right, they're a lock. It's not about the spread. They're going to win. So I put them on the tail end of the money line. I had the Leafs Winnipeg Jets or 5.5. I had, what else I had? I had the game to go over Alabama and Indiana. And all I needed was the Georgia Bulldogs to beat Ole Miss. I'm watching this game, and I'm watching a young quarterback for Ole Miss who is going to have the game of his life. Game of his life. That I'm watching this, and he is absolutely dealing. He's outstanding. He had kind of those Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson moments where, they got him. They got him in the backfield, and then he just finds his way out and burns the Bulldogs down the field. And at the end of the day, the Bulldogs come back, tie the game up with under a minute to go, leaving way too much time for Old Miss. Old Miss marches down the field, and they kicked the game-winning field goal. Yes, there was a 2-point safety. That was just because the Georgia Bulldogs were passing laterals. But Trinidad Chambliss, like, who was a transfer and not even the original Ole Miss starting quarterback to begin the season, had an outrageous game of his life that will, he's going to be a mid-round pick at best in the draft, but there's going to be a shining light. He threw for 362 yards against the Bulldogs. It's just a killer. It's just a deflating moment. And then we go into this week, a lot of similar things happening, just exactly like that, where I'm expected to get the big payoff. So the Bulldogs screwed me there. And then I get into yesterday's ball games, and if big games at that, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers hosting the Carolina Panthers, and they needed to win. But also today, we'll talk about it, need the Saints to win to get into the playoffs. But got the win. I had the money line on the Buccaneers. And what did I need? I needed the over in the Seattle-San Francisco game. Not the 48.5 where it closed at, but I knocked it down to 39.5. I put it down to 39.5. And right after when the Seahawks couldn't punch it in on the 1 yard line on their opening drive, that was a signal. That was a sign that the betting gods have looked down on me and said, son, you've sinned. You're going to repent for all your bad deeds for some way, somehow, because there was absolutely no way that this game was going to even hit 40 points. And absolutely disgusting. The Seattle Seahawks defense, wow, they got my respect. They were lights out. They were pounding Purdy. They could not get any flow. The run game. And then here's another situation. We talked about how I got hosed in fantasy football in our semifinal matchup. Christian McCaffrey has an outstanding game to push you ahead, to put you in the final. And last night, he couldn't get nothing going. He could not get nothing going. But that's kind of where that performance didn't happen 2 weeks ago. It happened last night. I'm getting hosed left and right here. But let's talk about last night. Let's talk about the Seattle team. I may be convinced that this team could make a run to the Super Bowl based on what we saw yesterday. I thought the 49ers were on the right side of, kind of the way they were playing, that their stock was going up and that they would take care of business. But the Seattle Seahawks came to play. Sammy Darnold, your boy, had a solid matchup in Jigba, big catches, some catches that were, not great throws, and he was making big catches. Outstanding. That D is just disgusting, and I say that in a good way. So let's talk about this game first, and then we'll step back to the Tampa game. What were your thoughts in that matchup last night?
No, it's hard. It's hard to disagree with you that Seattle is definitely one of the best teams in football right now. Definitely deserving of that number 1 seed. Sam Darnold, my boy, always just seems, for me, he seems to have enough to get the job done. I don't think he's the best quarterback in the league, but I think this guy's a winner. If you look at his win percentage in the NFL, this guy has balled out. So, I really do think, even though I'm still convinced it'll be Bills-Eagles as my pick, I would understand why line makers put Seattle even at number 1.
Well, I mean, they have knocked on the door and knocked it down, and their run game with Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker has been outstanding. So they're just lights out, 1-2 punch there.
They got a lot of weapons on that team.
And then you look at the afternoon ball game, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Carolina Panthers, bad conditions, a lot of rain in Tampa yesterday. The Buccaneers come out fast. They march down the field, put up 7, and then probably missed an opportunity to go up 2 touchdowns. I don't know if you've seen where Baker missed his tight end in the end zone. I know you needed on your bet 2 passing touchdowns from Baker.
Yes.
Did you see that where he missed that throw in the end zone?
Honestly, no. I seen the first touchdown to Auden. I know it was to Auden. I can't remember a missed one. I was kind of in and out. I watched most of the game, but
well, he was scrambling and wide open, and he missed his tight end in the end zone. And they go up by 10, and then in Baker Mayfield fashion, in Tampa Bay Buccaneer fashion, he throws a pick on a 3rd down and basically puts the Carolina Panthers back in the ball game. And I got to take a sip of coffee to get going here to discuss more because I was red hot.
Yeah.
So he throws the pick, and then Carolina basically has great field position. They score a touchdown. And I'm thinking to myself, we have a 16-game sample of this Carolina team. 2 weeks ago, you were in Carolina, and all you should take out of the film study of the Carolina Panthers is that don't lose the ball game by forcing passes on 3rd and 7s. Take the field position, punt, make this Bryce Young offense march down the field. Instead, every team that the Carolina Panthers beat, there's always 1, 2, or 3 significant defensive plays by the Panthers D that turns into a Panthers win. Like that, it just didn't make sense that why Baker made that throw. And I was disgusted with him to actually not know the team he's playing. Do not force anything. And then it seemed after that they were only up 10-7, that the switch flipped, whether it be with Todd Bowles, head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, or Baker Mayfield. And that was, all right, guys, let's remember we're playing the Carolina Panthers and who their quarterback is, and their D is going to be the factor if they're going to beat us here today. And they started to tone it down significantly, run the ball, settle for field goals, run the clock down, punt if you needed to. Absolutely the formula for success. And I didn't think they were going to go down that pathway, but the light went on. Back to Edison there. The light went on, and it seemed that the game plan was executed fantastic. And then by the end, I don't know what their secondary was doing, because the way that Carolina was able to get down the field, 3rd and long, 2 big passes, and then score to bring the game within 2 points was absolutely unacceptable, especially for a Todd Bowles defensive team. He's a defensive guy. So my question marks are, if they don't get the pathway to the playoffs, this Tampa Bay team really needs to look at, is Todd Bowles my head coach heading into next season? So that's a lot of questions there, because this team has regressed. And they're in the worst division of football. They should have had this division wrapped up 3 weeks ago. So that's my rate.
No, you're absolutely right. Going into this game after the season that we had, I think we kind of, like, it was almost like if it had felt like the Carolina Panthers were almost more deserving of that playoff spot. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like you not necessarily want them there, but it seems like their accomplishments are a lot more than the Bucs, despite the the Bucs' better record even.
Yeah, and we still have today, and it's amazing. Both teams are going to be sitting down, having a few Bud Lights, watching the New Orleans Saint Atlanta Falcon game, which now has a significant factor on the outcome, right? Because if New Orleans wins, Tampa Bay goes to the playoffs, win the division, host a playoff game, and then if Atlanta wins, Carolina gets in. So it's amazing how 2 teams sitting on a couch are watching a nothing game to see what happens. So we'll go through that. Now, traditionally, by Monday, we'll probably have a number of head coaches that are let go. Is there 1 or 2 coaches that are a must, in your opinion, where the franchise needs to immediately remove and then, start over? Does anybody stand out to you?
I mean, the one word that comes to my head, and I don't even know, I'd like to have almost like a conversation on it, because I'm not sure if you think he should be gone, is Mike McDaniels. I think his name is Mike McDaniels, the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. I mean, I think, he's good at drawing up the plays. Like, I think maybe he's a potential coordinator going forward. But the fact that the team, just is like, Tyreek Hill tweeting Tua, like, peace, see you later. Like, if that's the respect for a team's quarterback, it's like, what control does this coach have of the team? You know what I'm saying? With all this, like, drama going on. He's a person that comes to mind. I can't think anybody else. Maybe Pete Carroll. He did a terrible job this year on the Raiders. So those would be the 2 that come to my mind.
Pete Carroll, there's not much to say there. That to me is an automatic. That should be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember if I think that, the Raiders are at home today, but I think you take his keys after the game. Hey, Pete. Hey, you had a great run in Seattle, but here in Vegas, we're gonna go in a different direction. We're gonna need your washroom key here. I'm sorry, we're gonna need your pass. Like in your parking space, it's gone, Pete. So don't show up tomorrow, because that absolute disgusting performance as far as an organization, the way this Raiders season played out. Mike McDaniels, I can't agree more, and I've been saying it, but I believe there's probably a good chance that he sticks around in Miami, and I don't know why. I don't know why. I think they're in a scenario where if I'm the Miami Dolphins, I have to play it out kind of like the Denver Broncos did, where Sean Payton was brought in knowing he had Russell Wilson that he did not want, and that I look at the Tua situation exactly the same thing. If you moved in a different direction, you're going to bring in a head coach that's going to be stuck maybe for a year with a quarterback like Tua because of that massive contract and the dead money. But you're going to have to eat it and or put yourself in a position where if you have the opportunity to draft a quarterback in the first round, and it may not be this draft, and it may be next year, that you got to bring in that coach, because Mike McDaniels is not going to bring you any closer than he has already. They've regressed, right? They're not even in the playoffs. We talked about Miami being a bad cold weather team in the playoffs. They didn't even sniff the playoffs this year. It was poor. Tyreek Hill, I can't see coming back. I don't think that's right for Miami. But whatever they do is they should not bring Mike McDaniels. And for other head coaches, I mean, there's talk that Mike Tomlin, if the Ravens knock off the Steelers this Sunday, and probably the biggest matchup remaining on the card, is that he might be let go by the Steelers, who are thinking, all right, enough of this playoff, just getting to the playoffs. We're a Super Bowl franchise, but I'm not going to lose sleep for him, because as soon as Mike Tomlin, if he becomes available, he will be the biggest free agent that a lot of teams will look at rebuilding their program with. So he will cash in, whether it be on the field and or working at Fox or CBS or even Prime, whatever. He's got an open checkbook. I think he'd be doing him a favor by letting him go, because he has every opportunity to cash in every area for Mike Tomlin.
I think the Steelers would be really dumb to let go of Mike Tomlin personally. Like, you know, they've had a winning record for 11 straight seasons. I don't know. It doesn't seem like, if you're getting to the playoffs, you know, like I feel like he's always overachieving opposed to underachieving. So I can't agree with it.
I see it from a perspective of the Steelers, because the Steelers, there's certain franchises in the NFL, like the Steelers, the Ravens, the 49ers, the Chiefs, if they can remain with Patty Mahomes. There's a standard where if I'm not chasing a Super Bowl, then that's not good enough. And I can understand the perspective from Pittsburgh that we're not chasing Super Bowls. I don't know how much of that is Mike Tomlin's problem. He's kind of been patchworking the quarterback situation with the Steelers since Ben Roethlisberger got old and trying to replace. So I don't know. I just think a good fresh start for both, a good fresh paint, like a coat of paint, maybe for the Steelers, but also Mike Tomlin might be in the offering here.
Yeah. See, I understand if Mike Tomlin wanted to go that way, but I just think that the Steelers organization, you're right, since Roethlisberger, I don't think they've had a team where you really could expect those expectations. You know what I'm trying to say? When you had Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, Roethlisberger, that was a team that could have legitimately potentially won a Super Bowl. Plus, they had that stellar defense, you know? And yeah, they might have the defense to get to that level, but I think the offense is missing key weapons. And I think if I was the guy looking to keep him or fire him, I'd be looking at other methods to make the team better.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens in Pittsburgh. Also, the big story is, like, people are just asking for Aaron Glenn and with the Jets to go.
Yeah, I agree with that.
He was one of the big names that came out of the coaching search last season when he left the Lions. You know, Ben Johnson left the Lions, and he's been more of a success story with the Bears. It's interesting what the Jets will do. I mean, like, you give the guy 1 year. What's your expectations that turned around when you hook him up with Justin Fields? The Jets are just a train wreck. So I don't know what to tell you. But if there's a Mike Tomlin on the market, let's say, then yeah, I jump at, if I'm the Jets, I throw Aaron, I don't care. Aaron Glenn, bye-bye. We'll move on. But if there's no other suitable replacement, then you probably ride next season with Aaron Glenn and then see how it goes. But man, the Jets are a train wreck.
I completely agree with you. You know, out of the three teams we talked about there, I would say, Mike McDaniels probably is the one most deserving of a job in the NFL. But some bad coaches right there.
Yeah, so Monday will be Black Friday, where it's basically bye-bye. And but man, some organizations can't get out of their own way.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments?
Before we jump into the games, I sent you a picture. I just had an interesting thing to note for the listeners, something I never knew you could do. But yesterday I was playing around. FanDuel usually offers these 3-leg parlays with a 50% boost, and it's a pretty good deal. You know, we talk about staying away from parlays on the show because that's how the betting makers make their money. But with these boosts, I think they're worth it. But one thing I didn't know that you could know, and I want to know if you knew you could do this. I accidentally parlayed the spread with the straight up win, and it actually allowed it. And for me, it made absolutely no sense, and is definitely a betting strategy I would like to target if possible. Never knew you could parlay the spread with the straight up win. Doesn't seem right almost.
I see that you're talking about the Jacksonville scenario here. We got the money line and the 12.5, which makes no sense. I don't know if you go back and fiddle with the odds.
Yeah.
I guarantee you that you're not getting any benefit by doing that.
Yeah, so you're saying that there's an error on their end. That's what you're saying, basically?
It might be an error on their end, or the odds that if you took, okay, let's say you took the money line out of that scenario, I don't think you'll see the odds change.
But even if, say you didn't have those odds change, this could be a strategy to incorporate a free leg into a parlay.
I see what you're saying. Okay, hold on. If the bonus is a 3-leg parlay,
yes,
you're saying that you could utilize one by putting the money line because it's insignificant because you have to get the 12.5 anyway.
Yes, exactly. And so you're getting a free boost without taking that additional risk.
Okay, interesting to note, because you have to be plus money to be doing this to get eligible. So it won't pop up unless you're plus even money or worse.
Plus
100. Or better, sorry. Okay, I'll keep an eye on that. So
all right. I just wanted to note it. Maybe I'll touch base again with it next week, but just something to note before we jump into these games.
I see what you're doing. Here. You're scamming the system.
See, I got more time in my hands now. I'm finding these loopholes, these cracks in the system.
Well, let's see if it works out today, because you got your 50% boost and you got the plus money, but yet, really, you only need 2 legs. You need Etienne. What was the Etienne for the Jacksonville Jaguars? What was it?
Just a touchdown, I believe.
Anytime touchdown, and basically you need the Jaguars to cover the 12.5. The money line portion is insignificant because if they don't cover the 12.5, it means nothing.
Exactly.
Okay, interesting. You may have this is what I want to hear. I want to see these kind of like you're looking beyond. Honestly, if you look at a lot and if you have a chance to tinker around with it, I know we don't like doing same game parlays, but it's inevitable. You're going to do it. We're all going to do it, because some of those offers, like, it just don't make sense not to take advantage of it.
Exactly.
So, but you'll notice that the odds don't make sense. I'm looking at a couple soccer games today where, the over-under for Liverpool-Fulham is -106. And then I go to shots on target to add it to it. It's like -430, but yet I'm not at plus money. How is that possible? How am I not at plus money if the over-under 2.5 was -106? It shouldn't take a lot to push to plus money. There is the ultimate fuckery going on with these FanDuels and DraftKings that we got to pay attention to, because it's not cool. This is why they have every advantage, because they're tinkering with this. So it's keep an eye out, people. Keep an eye out.
Yep, and we'll keep coming back to you with more things that we find.
Okay, let's keep going here. So we're going to talk about the NFL card, NFL playoff implications for some of these. Some of the teams I think of resigned to the fact they don't really care if they finish 5th, 6th, or 7th in the playoff hunt. So we're not going to spend a lot of time on a lot of the games that don't make any difference to the playoff run, but we'll feel free to talk about whatever you want. But the big game, probably now that each team has no playoff impact, is New Orleans heading into Atlanta to take on Kirk Cousins. And the Falcons are 3.5-point favorites on FanDuel, over under 43.5. And the Saints will look pretty good. The last few games, Tyler Shook has maybe established himself as the New Orleans Saints' future, and he's currently the present. So, and then we got Kirk Cousins, who's an interesting, what if you're Atlanta, what do you do? Maybe you want to, okay, let's do this. I know we're going to run long here. I don't care. We're going to run a little bit long. We'll cut it off maybe next week because we have a shorter card to talk about. But if you want to touch base on a comment on the franchise going forward, and Atlanta Falcons being one of them, feel free. But I'm going to talk about this game where Kirk Cousins, I think the Falcons are in a position where they probably have to retain Kirk Cousins with Michael Penix with his ACL issue. Or, he's going to be out there as a suitable gap quarterback for somebody who's in between finding a franchise quarterback. So it's very interesting what Atlanta does. And do they retain Raheem Morris? I don't know. I don't see him as taking my team to the next level, which the Falcons expected. So before you comment on the game, any comments on either of these teams and their futures?
Honestly, with Penix or Kirk Cousins, I don't think it really matters who's playing quarterback. I think what I've seen from the Atlanta Falcons in recent weeks, is they're finally ready to unleash Bijan and give him the majority of the workload. And, if you're going to make the focal point of your offense, one of the best running backs in football, you're going to have success. So I don't really think it matters. Kirk Cousins looks like, he could be a top backup quarterback, or maybe just usable. I'd probably want Penix over him, but, I don't think quarterback is the main priority of this team. I think it's about unleashing this ultimate talent onto the league. And it finally seems like Atlanta is here to play with that strategy.
Yeah, I don't think what I seen from Michael Penix Jr. this year was very positive. I mean, last year he came in and he brought the Falcons some success, but he took a step back, man. He's hesitant in the pocket. The easy throws I didn't find he made. And what you get with Kirk Cousins is, an aging quarterback, but you need to get the ball in Kyle Pitts Jr.'s hands. You need to get the ball into Bijan's hands, whether it be handoff or out of the backfield. It's really an impactful situation when Drake London was injured multiple games there. He's a big-time receiver. He's a big-time target. And they were hampered by injuries and I think confusion of where they wanted to take this offense. And honestly, if Penix if Penix got injured earlier, they might have had been forced to have a clear direction that Kirk Cousins was their guy. Mm-hmm. So it's just a mess in Atlanta. I applaud for taking a gamble of drafting a quarterback high up that had injury risk when you already had Kirk Cousins. But sometimes you don't get the river. You don't get the ace you're looking for. You don't get the club you're looking for to finish that flush. And that's kind of where the Falcons are right now. And then going into this game, I mean, the Saints 3.5-point dogs. I think that's a little large, don't you think? Or do you think they'll go on a tear here today and wipe the Saints out?
I think the line's pretty close, but I'd like Atlanta winning by a touchdown.
Wow.
So, my picks for today is going to be the Atlanta Falcons -3.5, and then I'm going to take the over 43.5. I think both teams are finding success offensively.
Yeah, I'll match you on that. So we'll talk about, I like the over. I'm going to take New Orleans. I'm going to have them to cover and maybe outright win. Some reason why I think Atlanta will choke. They last year under a similar scenario when they were battling for a playoff spot, losing to Carolina at home in overtime, they just have choke written all over them. So I'll take New Orleans.
See, here's the thing. I can see the choke potential if Bijan has under 20 carries. That should never be a scenario that's happening. But for whatever reason, this Atlanta Falcons team has always limited this guy. So I think if you limit Bijan, we lose this game. And if he gets the workload, I think you get the production. And I think that's just straight up exactly what's going to happen. We'll see.
Okay, so we're going to move on to another game where really no playoff implications. We have the Cleveland Browns visiting the Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals are 7.5-point favorites. This over-under is 45.5. Anything that sticks out here? Like what are your thoughts?
Can you tell me the big thing that sticks out in this game?
In this game?
Yes. What an all-time moment.
Oh, you're talking about the sacks situation here with Myles Garrett?
Yes, I'm pretty sure here that he's one sack away from the all-time sack record. So honestly, in this game here, I think that's that's the big the catch. That's the catch for this game. That's the one I might tune in for. Otherwise I'd probably stay away. Obviously, Joe Burrow, always good to watch him play. And you know what? I will say, I do think Cleveland's getting a little disrespected here. This Cleveland defense might be one of the best defenses in the NFL, definitely top 5. And I think they can keep Cincy under a touchdown for the lead. So I'm going to take Cleveland plus 7.5, and I'm going to actually take the under 45.5. That seems quite high.
Whoa. We're called the Overrated Experience, so you just don't want you to remember that. I think Cincinnati's in their sweet spot right now. They have no pressure, and all Joey Burrow can do is sit back and light them up. This defense is not necessarily as threatening on the road as they are at home. Shedeur Sanders, look, the kid has allowed the Cleveland Browns to potentially win games. Dylan Gabriel, Joe Flacco were there, and I didn't feel that they were threats to knock off anybody they were playing. But Shedeur Sanders, give him credit. He puts them in a situation, hey, they could win this game. But also he could have a disastrous game. I'm not saying that the Cincinnati D is any good. They've been a little better recently, but I just don't see him producing enough and having to chase all game to keep up with Joe Burrow and, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins in this offense, where I do think the Cincinnati will comfortably win. And I do think this game will actually go over 46. So 45.5, I'll take the over. All right. So now we have the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Giants. Again, a nothing game. Looks like Dak is going to play, but how long? We don't know. The Giants, Jackson Dart will start once again. Any comments on this one?
In my head, I'm thinking just because Dallas has nothing to play for, like playoffs wise, or nothing to rest for, my bad. I wouldn't be surprised if they played this whole game. I don't know. But obviously, comes down to a lot of speculation, right? But for whatever reason, I think they'll play it. I think they want to finish the season strong. I'm going to take Dallas here, getting the win. I know Giants are home, and I'm going to take the under 49.5. That seems really high to me. That seems like probably my favorite bet on the slate so far, the under 49.5.
I'm going to go under as well. Going with under. Did you say Cowboys or Giants? Which ones are you going to take?
No. Take the Cowboys with the -3.
Okay.
You know what? I also think Dallas, when they don't have that pressure on them, I think it's pretty much what you said with Joe Burrow. Maybe they could step back and just dominate because they have the talent to do that against this New York Giants team for sure.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Giants. I think the Giants have been in kind of lost season mode for a while now, and Jackson Dart continues to try to improve. Giants got a lot of decisions to make. If they go in and win this game, they could push them as far back as 6th overall pick versus number 2 where they sit now. So is it to their benefit to win? No, I don't think you can go out there thinking or not trying to win, but it's not going to help this franchise in any fashion to get the 6th seed as far as the the draft order versus the 2nd overall, because, with that 2nd overall pick, there's a couple quarterbacks that teams may overpay for if you think Jackson Dart's your guy, or you have the opportunity to move on if you don't think Jackson Dart's your guy. So we'll see what happens. Not much to say here. I'll take the Giants, and I'll take the under as well to join you.
Yeah, just a note, we've talked about it already in the show, but I do think Jackson Dart is that guy going forward. Yeah, I think, I don't really know what he'll become, but I just think with the year that he's had, he's deserved the chance.
Screw the chance, man. It's either you get it, you have to. I hear a lot of people talk about chances. Who gives a shit about chances? You have to make a tough decision. Is this guy going to be better than the option I have that I can draft a Mendoza out of Indiana? Or I can't remember his name, but the quarterback out of Oregon who looked fantastic over the weekend. So those are the guys that you have that one opportunity to potentially get a game-changing quarterback. Ask the New England Patriots about drafting a quarterback. How has that made a difference to their franchise?
Ask the Vikings.
Yeah, right. Well, that's true.
It's always a risk. I don't know. I guess I just don't like, because Jackson Dart, see you draft that new quarterback, the fans are going to be like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And then, there's the team drama, and just, I guess I'm overthinking it here, but it really could go either way. You know what I mean? That quarterback from Indiana, and I did watch some of the bowl games with this free time on my hands. And, he does look special. So I wouldn't blame them no matter which way they went, Well, no one has a crystal ball to see into the future. But yeah, it could go either way. Either one could be the right decision in my eyes.
So speaking of that quarterback you just threw under the bus, the Green Bay Packers head into Minnesota. Green Bay is a lock for the playoffs, but Jordan Love will not play here. Malik Willis won't even play. It's Clayton Tune who will be quarterbacking for the Green Bay Packers. However, the Minnesota Vikings, J.J. McCarthy, will play. So the spread here right now is -10.5 in favor of the Minnesota Vikings. Actually moved up to 11.5 in 2 seconds. So it's 11.5 now. Okay. And the over-under is 36.5. Very low. Josh Jacobs for the Packers will not play. Aaron Jones will not play for the Vikings. I don't know what to tell you. This hard to really size this matchup up. But any thoughts here?
My thoughts are, I think it's pretty cool that it's week 18, and it took this is our 4th game in to say, okay, here's a game that has absolutely, it's just everyone's benching their guys, or at least the one side with the Green Bay Packers, but 11.5 is really high. The Vikings have really struggled offensively this year. I think both teams are really going to struggle. The over-under at 36.5 kind of reflects that way of thinking as well. So, I'll take the Packers 11.5. I don't feel great about it. I just think it's hard to predict. And obviously I'll take the over being that low. One thing to mention, you did send me a list yesterday of incentives for players. And I know that Justin Jefferson, to get 1,000 receiving yards, needs about roughly 50 yards, something like that, I think you sent me. So definitely keep an eye out for that. If you're making any teaser parlays, I definitely look at the over-under for Justin Jefferson's over receiving yards. He's just that guy that's going to get over 1,000. I just wanted to note that there. So yeah, I'll take Green Bay plus 11.5 and the over. That's my official picks.
Okay, do you have that in front of you, what his incentive is?
No, but if you go give me your picks, I can search for that.
No, but do you have the article I sent you where it shows his incentive?
Yes,
What he has to hit.
I don't know if it's an incentive. I just know, every receiver's obviously going to want to hit that 1,000 yards, right?
Well, let's look at it, because right now he's over under for 65.5 yards.
Yeah, so that would
That's
be
low.
that's why I was kind of talking about the tees. Like with JJ McCarthy, I've come to this podcast with, we've looked at the Justin Jefferson over and unders on this podcast, and we thought, wow, what a deal. Like, this is wrong, this line is wrong. But JJ McCarthy has showed us that we can't look at these lines now, or at least that's how I look at it. I've given the viewers a couple picks with the over unders for Justin Jefferson. It hasn't paid out this season, so I'm taking a step back for the rest of the season. Did you find it? I seen you looking at it there.
Fine, just can't find his incentive. Like,
yeah, I know. I never seen the incentive. I just seen 1,000 yards, which you think he'll get. I think he needs roughly 50 here.
Okay, so I gotta believe, because for you bettors out there, you have to believe, especially if a team is not in the playoffs, there is going to be a push to try to push these guys over the line to get whatever incentive that they require. So if we're thinking on the right page here that Justin Jefferson needs under 100 yards, they're going to feed him the ball. They want to make him happy. The wide receiver, sometimes, like, he's got to be thinking, like, I'm a Hall of Fame receiver. I'm one of the best that's ever done this. I'm up there with Randy Moss here in Minnesota. But now I've, like, in the graveyard of quarterbacks, my career is going to be dead if I have the production that we had this year. So JJ McCarthy needs to find a connection with Justin Jefferson, and it should start today. So that should be a golden pick that he's over 65.5 yards receiving. That's my thought.
I think if they lose this game today, which obviously, I really don't think they will, but I feel like his career could be done.
JJ McCarthy?
Yeah, like if after the season that he's had, if he goes and loses a game where they're 11.5-point favorites against the Green Bay Packers that have benched half their team, division rivals, I feel like you take this guy down from quarterback.
Interesting. So you think that they basically hit the eject button on the JJ McCarthy experiment?
Last game of the season, alley-up win. He's got to get it done. Okay. I feel like this is this is one good thing about this game. I think it's an absolute, win or you're not our quarterback anymore. Obviously, I don't know what the team's thinking, but I think after the season that he's had, it's like this, you got to win this one for the fans at home. You have to. You have to get Justin Jefferson at 1,000-yard season. I'm sorry,
okay,
but if Justin Jefferson falls short of 1,000 yards, it is on JJ McCarthy, I think.
Wow, you've really thrown him under the bus, man. You really hate him.
If Sam Darnold's a Filet-O-Fish, I don't even know what this guy is.
Wow, he might be like day-old chicken nuggets. I think that's what
junior chicken.
Oh my God. Okay, so you're taking the Packers to cover. I'll take the Packers to cover. Did you say over or under the 36.5?
It's just so low, I have to say the over.
Yeah, me too. Okay, so Indianapolis into Houston. Houston still has the opportunity to potentially win the AFC South. If Jacksonville loses in Tennessee, we'll talk about that game in a bit. And it looks like they're going to play their starters. Phillip Rivers' experiment looks to be over. Riley Leonard is going to be quarterbacking for the Colts. So I think we have a few incentives here. I don't know if we do or not, but anyway, the Houston Texans are 10.5-point favorites. The over-under is 38.5. Any chance that the Colts can hang in this game?
I don't think so. You've hyped up the Houston Texans defense on this podcast. They look elite. They could be the top defense in the NFL. Who knows? And the fact that they have incentive to play, I actually think that they can hit this minus 10.5 here. And I think they do that and they score a bunch of points. So I'll also take the over 30.5 for the Houston Texans.
So I'll match it, but okay.
The Indianapolis Colts, they want the season to be done.
Yeah, I think so. And they started out as the best team in the NFL.
I know they started off. It was a sad season for the Indianapolis Colts. Probably the saddest out of any team. Just the fall of grace.
You're going to consider
even with Phillip
Rivers,
there was some life, there was some hope, but it just didn't happen.
When you look back on it, that wasn't the worst idea. Like,
No, they're like, you know what, we're gonna do everything we can to win. Let's give the fans everything we possibly can to make it happen. And you know what? It didn't turn out. But, you know, I think there was a little bit of bad luck. And I think if you're a Colts fan, you know, you're happy with the organization's moves, as crazy as that sounds.
and if their defense over the last 4 weeks played at least decent football,
Yeah,
they'd be playing for something today.
I know.
I really felt that the offense was putting numbers up, but they cannot keep up with the way the defense was leaking points against the opposition.
Yeah. And this team knew that they needed defensive help, and they went out and traded their first-round pick for defensive help this year in Sauce Gardner.
As a kicker, man.
Yeah.
Think about they went chips all in the middle. Remember when we got Sauce Gardner?
Yeah.
At that point, they were flying high leading this division.
Yeah, and then you're like, holy
everything
shit.
was going their way.
I remember a conversation where, like, they just got potentially, I don't think we were set on it, but we were like the second or third best cornerback in football, upgraded to this team that was kind of dominating early on in the season. And from there, I don't know how, but everything just fizzled out.
You know what? Maybe you're right. Maybe this is the saddest situation because I forgot about that they traded multiple first-round picks to get Sauce Gardner, who played very limited on this roster in their playoff run. And now they're playing a nothing game in Week 18. I can't believe that they fell. But again, I don't think the Phillip Rivers experiment was bad. I thought it would have been a disaster. This defense just went south and just did not put up production to hold this team back in the playoffs. But wow. What a turn of events.
Sometimes you push the chips in the middle and the other player hits the straight flush. You know, it's not it's
and
not
your
easy.
Season goes down the toilet. All right. Speaking of a season not going down the toilet, but going up, are they surprising? Jacksonville Jaguars, who have been like just a completely different team the second half of this NFL season. They're in the driver's seat. They win. They win the AFC South and host a playoff game in Jacksonville. They take on the Tennessee Titans, where they pretty much had nothing to play for since week 2 of the season. The Jaguars are 13.5-point favorites right now. So your pick you showed earlier of 12.5 seems to be a bargain. Did the Jacksonville Jaguars crush them today? 47.5 also is the over-under. Where do you see, I know how you're going to see this playing out, but let's hear from you.
Yeah, so I do want to start off by saying I think Jacksonville honestly has established himself as like a top 5, one of the best teams in football. You know, to me, they've always been good on paper, but they just haven't been able to hit those expectations. And this year they finally have. That being said, 13.5 is a lot of points. So Tony Pollard is incentivized to have 2 touchdowns today, which is a bit of a long shot, if I'm being honest. But I think, I think Tony Pollard is one of the best weapons on this team. I think if they can get Tony Pollard going, even to some degree, I'm not saying he's an elite running back or anything, but, I think they can keep this game a 10-point game. So, I'm basing it a little bit around the incentives, but it is a high total. So give me the 13.5 and give me the under 47.5.
Okay, so when you say 13.5, are you taking the Tennessee side or the Jacksonville side?
I'm taking the Tennessee plus.
I thought you were not going to take Tennessee anymore.
I mean, there's always a right number, right? At the end of the day, it's Week 18. It's Week 18 in the NFL season. I know Jacksonville does need a win, but I could see them being a little more cautious with the ball, a little more clock control. I feel like saying they're going to win by 10, but betting against them is just, I don't know.
And you like the over?
I think they win by 10.
7.5?
Pardon?
What? Sorry, the over under. What do you think? 47.5?
The over under. I'm going to do the under 47.5.
Man,
I think. Yeah.
Go over, and I'll join you on the Titans, but I mean, there's a lot of talk the talk and not walk the walk on the Austin side of things.
Like, I could literally see this being 24-11, which would be a 13-point game. I could see Jacksonville winning by like exactly 13 points here. I don't know. It's a hard one. Stay away.
Well, we talked about Tony Pollard's incentive to get a couple touchdowns. So you got to really take that into account, that the Titans are going to feed him the ball. They have nothing to lose other than make a guy like Tony Pollard happy. Anytime touchdown, just one, he's plus 190.
Wow, are you serious?
That's plus 190 for anytime touchdown for Tony Pollard.
That is the prop of the week.
Yeah.
I wonder what 2 is. 2's got to be like 10 to 1. 1,500 for 2?
What do you think? Would you throw $10 on that?
$10? Yeah, do it.
Okay. So that's that for Tennessee. We get into like such an insignificant matchup right now. The Kansas City Chiefs, and I can't believe we're saying this, the Kansas City Chiefs are 4.5-point favorites. I don't know why. On the road in Vegas to take on the Raiders with an over-under 36.5. And when you really look, I don't want to spend much time on this one, but we have Chris Oldenkuhn. I can't even pronounce his name. And I don't even know who's starting for the Raiders, to be honest. Geno Smith is or is not, or Kenny Pickett is.
I'll get on it.
I'll take the Raiders on this one, in my opinion. 36.5. I'll take the over, too. No, you know what? I'll take the over because I have to take something.
Yeah, so it is Kenny Pickett. You know, I think you just go with these teams are so garbage right now. Like the Kansas City Chiefs, even just like it's crazy. I'm calling them a garbage team. Just this season they're a garbage team.
Yes.
So I'm just gonna go with the team taking the points because I think it could go either way. I think you take the insurance option. So I'm gonna take the Las Vegas Raiders 4.5 plus 4.5, and give me the over 36.5. It's a low total.
Okay. Locked it in. It's in. All right. And the next matchup, probably insignificant, is the Lions and the Bears will be facing off. Can't believe the Lions season is over. And the Bears are just on the other page. I didn't believe in the Bears. You had more faith in the Bears than I did. I still don't think they're at that level where they're going to be a serious threat in the playoffs. They may get a first-round win, but I don't see them moving too far into the playoffs to be a threat. But what do you think here?
So it's just something interesting to note. I don't think we've talked about it, and it's relative to this matchup here. I didn't realize that last year the offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions actually went to Chicago. So,
my God, Austin, really?
No,
really?
I'm saying I don't think we've talked about it on this podcast
because it's common knowledge that Ben Johnson was the highest.
It's common knowledge, but you know, you have that conversation at the end of the season. You know what happened here, and you know, I think I don't know. I got a feeling. Listen, these games at the end of the year may not have significance, but that doesn't mean that any given game can't be an opportunity to make some money. So I'm actually eyeing the Detroit Lions straight up winning this game today. You know, there's a lot of good money here. I think, you know, they still have all their players healthy. Last week I went on a tangent about how, you know, there's no real reason why Detroit should be bad. Obviously, other than that offensive coordinator and Dan Campbell kind of making their own calls. It seems like it hasn't been working. But I think this is a great opportunity for an upset this week. Straight up. But obviously we take the spreads on the Overrated Experience. So give me the plus 3.5.
Okay.
And give me the over 50.5. I think this is actually just a absolute fireworks going off in this game. Even though it might not have significance, I think it's an entertaining one to end the year.
Fair enough.
I just think Detroit wants to show, you know, this. I'm pretty sure this is a winning record or a losing record for the Lions, and I think Dan Campbell, he cares about those wins. So I really think this might be the greatest value on the week.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you agree with me here? Let's hear what you have.
Yeah, I think you got a good insight here. I think the Lions don't look at the world the same as everybody else, and I think they look at making sure that they are putting their best foot forward every time they're on the field, whether it be preseason, whether it be regular season or playoffs, despite the disappointment that's come along with the season, that how it's unfolded. I'm just trying to think that the Lions, I can't recall what the impact of the Bears winning or not winning today is, because it looks like Caleb Williams is going to play. The Bears obviously have locked up the division, but they run the risk of the Eagles winning and moving ahead into because they currently hold down the second slot, and the Eagles could push past them if they lose today and the Eagles win. So they do have something to play for a bit. So I guess, yeah, maybe it will be. I'm going to follow you on the over-under, and the Lions potentially just going all out and utilizing all their weapons as we normally would see the Lions, but they have struggled. And you're right, the Dan Campbell calling plays experiment has not worked out. They'll need to find an offensive coordinator that maximizes the weapons going into next year for sure. So let's match the Lions to cover and the game to go over 50.5.
Just a fun question because, you know, everybody loves the Lions. After this season, do you still consider Dan Campbell a top 5 coach in the NFL?
Yeah, you know what? I do. I mean, that could change. Depends how they start out next year, but I'm gonna chalk it up that he's still the guy. He's still the guy. He's a top coach, but he needs to get the results. It's simply the way they've assembled this roster. They need to produce. They need to be a consistent playoff team and going deep in the playoffs. And if they're not next year, then that opinion is going to change. And I think the Lions really need to take that into account. But you got to remember, this franchise is not too far gone from, being 0-16, winless, and can't make the playoffs. So they got to really seriously think before they make such a move down the road if Dan Campbell is not the guy.
Yeah, I think, I'm very confident that they get the win today. I think this Lion, beginning of the year, if you said the Detroit Lions had a losing record, I would have been shocked. Like, if my crystal ball showed me that, I would have been shocked. So you know what? I don't think that's even one that comes true. And hopefully we see that today and we all make some money.
There, fair enough. Oh, so we move on to a significant game in a way. Well, I don't know why they scheduled this way, but the Denver Broncos host the Chargers today. And they are heavy favorites as Justin Herbert will not play. 13.5-point favorites are the Broncos. But, you really got to think that if the Jacksonville Jaguars lose this afternoon against the Titans, then the Broncos have nothing to play for, right? So that you really got to be careful and assume that the Jaguars are going to take care of business today for the Broncos to come into this game looking to put up points. So be careful out there, and you may be surprised what happens at 4 o'clock if the Denver Broncos have already wrapped up the first seed in the AFC playoffs. But I do think that the Broncos, out of the two, I think the Broncos need every advantage. They're a good team, but I don't think they're a great team. They have flaws, and I think they absolutely, if they want to be contenders, my apologies. The Patriots could also pass the Broncos today, and they will be playing at 4. So that scrub what I just said. And I just think that the Broncos need this number 1 playoff seed badly. If they're going to make a run to the Super Bowl, they need it more than any other team in the AFC, in my opinion.
Yeah. The fact that they do have to keep all players on the field here, I actually will go with the minus 13.5 for the Denver Broncos. You're right. They do need this number 1 seed. That home field advantage is no joke in Mile High. And then give me I think the over for 37.5. That might be the best total on the week here.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So you like the over and you like the Broncos to cover.
Yeah, I can see the Broncos putting up 30 here.
Okay. I'll follow along. So Trey Lance, you don't have any faith in Trey Lance?
They have enough. I have enough faith in Trey Lance to think he can get up 10 points against this Denver Broncos team. 30-10, you hit the over, and you get the minus 13.5.
And then you brought up a topic last week about Justin Herbert being a top 5 quarterback, and I said that I don't necessarily disagree. It's his surrounding weapons or lack of clutch players that. And if you look at that game against Houston last week, he got beat up.
Yeah.
By the Houston defense.
Yeah.
O-line. He also had some terrible, I can't remember who the receiver was. Just, when you look at a significant part of that ball game, like a really important drive off the hands of the receiver, popped up in the air for an interception. That's the crap he has to deal with. That garbage. And then Dicker doesn't miss for the whole season, and he misses a field goal and an extra point. Really, see, he has to do way too much to make up for the shit that he's got to put up with on that roster. And that's why he can't have nice things, because the rest of the team can't put up their weight and responsibility to come through when it counts the most. Yes? Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
I agree.
All right.
No,
okay,
and that's a reason, I definitely factored Herbert being out into, taking the Denver Broncos spread here. Herbert is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL, and take him away from this Chargers team, and they're nowhere close to the playoffs.
Okay, moving on. We have the New England Patriots hosting the Miami Dolphins. The Patriots are still alive, like I just remembered, for that number 1 seed, and they're 13.5-point favorites. 45.5 is the over-under. Is there a chance that the Patriots don't cover?
I think definitely. I really don't think they do cover here. Miami hasn't been like a useless team. They haven't been a bottom team. Their talent still flashes. A division matchup. I just think 13.5 is too much. I'd set it at 10 myself. So give me Miami plus 13.5, and give me the. That's close. 45.5. Give me the under.
Okay.
I'm not confident on that one though. Not confident at all. And you know what? I don't know if you want to did you want to save the MVP conversation to the end of the podcast, or because we're on the Patriots here, did you want to have that conversation now?
We'll save it. We'll save it.
Okay.
But what I'll say right now, I think in the AFC, who's hotter than the Patriots right now? Who's hotter?
Nobody.
Nobody. They're smashing teams. They're lighting it up, and it's going to factor into that MVP conversation. So I think they take it to the Miami Dolphins. Quinn Ewers quarterbacking for the Miami Dolphins got the win last week. Did they? I can't remember who they beat Tampa, and I just think he gets killed today. So I think it's a one-way traffic into the end zone. I do think there'll be a lot of points, but very minimal for the Miami Dolphins. So you just said the over on this game?
I said the under.
Under? Okay, I'm going to say over because the Patriots just don't like to not score. So I'll take that.
I also did say this is one of the over-unders I'm not confident about.
Okay. Well, just the Patriots are on a roll right now. Dolphins, not so much. So let's go on to Washington. Really a nothing game other than incentives for like Deebo Samuels, to be honest. Philadelphia Eagles are 3.5-point favorites. I don't think Jalen Hurts is playing in this game. Jalen Hurts is not. Tanner McKee will be quarterbacking for the Eagles against Josh Johnson of the Washington Commanders. Not the matchup you would think between these two teams that met in the NFC Championship game last year. Any thoughts on this game? There's not much really to talk about.
I didn't do my homework on this game. Are you able to tell me, everyone else but Jalen Hurts playing this game for Philadelphia?
I don't think so. I don't think Saquon's playing, to be honest. Saquon's not playing. I don't see him on any rushing yard prop. I don't even get a rushing yards section here in.
Yeah. You know what?
So,
give me Washington. If Philly is benching all their players today, give me Washington. Definitely a game I'd stay away from and I wouldn't watch. I don't want to say low level play, but you guys know what I mean. So give me Washington with the plus 3.5 and give me the over 39.5 here.
Okay. Over 39.5. I'll say over 2 and I'll take Washington. So we'll both be on Washington. Nothing here to talk about. Let's move on.
Yeah. Once again, though, I do want to know, maybe there's nothing for this game, but I am impressed with how many games actually do have significance. It seems like most, usually week 18, it feels like you got like 2 or 3 games that mean anything. It's like at least half these games. It seems like more than half these games have some significance today.
Right. And then also to note, Deebo Samuel looks like he has a bunch of incentives that he's going to be chasing. I'm just trying to think. Do you got anything up there with the incentives for Deebo Samuel?
No, I don't have it in front of me. The information that came with it's just kind of what I retained, but I didn't see Deebo's.
Okay, I'm going to go to Deebo's here because here we go. It's Deebo. Okay, so for Deebo Samuel, needs 10 to 20 receptions, 93. What is it? Okay, so Commanders, he's got a lot of stuff here. He's got layers of incentives where he needs to be fed the ball for reception yards and touchdowns. So if you like a prop there of Deebo, they're probably going to be focusing on him. But again, reminder, Josh Johnson is going to be the quarterback trying to get him the ball, which is not good.
No.
Okay, let's move on. We're way over time here. So we have the Arizona Cardinals, 14.5-point underdogs, taking on the LA Rams, which I really don't think don't have much to play for right now. They've resigned to the fact that they will not be the number 1 seed. Come on, do they? That's it. They're
you
toast.
Look and see the minus 14.5, and you got to be assuming they're starting their players, right?
Got to believe that. Yeah, hold on. Let's make sure that we got that. Come on, wild card. Guess let's see what the Rams have to play for. The Rams, they're 11-5. So I guess if they win, they could take the number 1 wild card spot. So they can move ahead of the 49ers, I believe, to take on like the 5th seed.
Yeah,
so I guess they need a win, and that would probably get them. Yeah, I don't know. I guess they need a win to see the Rams passing player over under. Yeah, it looks like Stafford's going to play. So I guess the 14.5 makes sense.
Yeah. You know what?
So what do you think?
As crazy as it is, we will talk about the MVP conversation at the end of this podcast, but I think that Stafford is going to be gunning for a big game here. And I think that this team actually hits the minus 14.5. I think they could win by 20 here. Give me that and give me the over. I think there's a lot of fireworks in this game. I think Stafford gains a little more respect back this week. And that's how I think this is going to play out.
All right. I have nothing more to say, but I'll follow you on this one. All right. Jets, Bills, nothing really here to talk about, but 10.5-point favorites are the Bills. How long is Josh Allen going to play? Is he playing? I don't even know if he's playing right now. It's like there's no, geez, man.
There's no incentive?
Game specials. I can't see any lines on him.
There's a chance he's playing for the fans today, like 2-3 quarters, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't count on it. They have nothing to play for, and he's their team, right? He's it. He's it. There's nothing for incentivized for him to play. What do they got to gain?
Has anything? But this is what I'll say. This game is the ultimate stay away from game. You know, you don't want to bet it. You don't want to bet for the Jets even with 10.5 points. You know, you'd almost think Buffalo benching everybody somehow is still better than the New York Jets. But just because, honestly, just because I don't really know this game seems to be the biggest uncertainty of the games we've had today. So give me the Jets plus 10.5 and give me the over 37.5. I don't know what's going to happen on this one. So I guess give me the insurance with the Jets. I don't want to bet on Buffalo Bills over 10 without Josh Allen.
I'll still cover the Bills. The Jets are that bad. They got to be looking plane tickets booked, resorts set up. The Jets are on their way to the offseason. I'll take the over as well. The 37.5 seems low. We'll probably get burned. This will probably be like a 16-3 game or something, but not much to look at here, and really not really an interesting matchup to say the least. So we go on to the biggest game of the evening, and that is the Baltimore Ravens with Lamar Jackson will be taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers with no DK Metcalf. And how much did that loss of his suspension factor in that the Steelers could not close the deal in Cleveland last week and find themselves on the edge of blowing their potential playoff bid? How big was that DK Metcalf suspension?
Well, that could be the difference. You know, that's their number one receiver. That changes any game. Definitely a stupid move by DK Metcalf and could cost them a postseason here. He's out this week as well, correct?
Yes, this is the second game of his suspension.
Yeah.
And can you think of a game more like last week and now this game where you would need him the most?
Yeah. Oh, of course. And against all teams, you're going up against the Baltimore Ravens who need the win. You can't do that without DK Metcalf.
Yeah, what a bad time to get suspended.
Yeah.
And then last week, Derrick Henry just went off. I thought that with Snoop Hundley as a quarterback heading into Green Bay, that they would have struggled to put up points. Not so. Derrick Henry ran all over the Packers. And is he going to be able to put those numbers up tonight with TJ Watt is going to be back for the Steelers? How healthy is he? I don't know. When you have a infected lung and surgery on your lung and then you're coming back to play football, what's your percentage of health? I don't know.
This is a huge game. Win in, you're in, straight up. You know, it's hard to imagine, since the beginning of the year, me and you both had faith. We're like, yeah, Baltimore can find a way. Baltimore can find a way. Well, here's their chance. It all comes down to this. You know, there's a lot on the line today. Not even just a playoff picture, but I'm pretty sure we talked about earlier in this podcast about how Mike Tomlin has like 11 straight winning seasons. It's going to come down to if that streak continues today. That's a huge factor of even if the team wants to move on from Tomlin, how can you do it how can you fire a coach that's had, 12 straight winning seasons or whatever it is. But, I think Baltimore ends that today. And, I'll take the -3.5. I think they can win by a touchdown. I know that a lot of the Baltimore Ravens wins have been close, but I'm going to take that anyways. And give me the over 41.5. I'm very confident about that over-under. And those are my picks today. I think it is crazy that Baltimore even has a chance to get in the playoffs here. And I think the rest of the league should be worried.
Yeah, I was going to say that I'm going to go opposite just for the sake of being opposite on this one. I'll take the Steelers to cover, as I think this comes down to like a just Sunday night field goal. Even the Ravens winning or whatever, Loop gets in there and, hits that field goal. They probably win. I'll take the under just to be different here because, remember I said I get screwed, I get the hose. So I'm going to go the opposite. Like, did you ever watch Seinfeld where George goes the opposite?
No.
What? He goes the opposite.
I didn't see that episode.
So he goes opposite so that he works for the Yankees.
Yes, I seen that. Yeah. And he starts getting promotion.
Everything the opposite.
Everything starts working out.
Rye. He's like, I'll take turkey on white.
Yeah.
Everything opposite. Yes is no, no is up is down, down is up. So that's like, how's that not the best show ever? Seinfeld, come on.
No, I remember that episode. I forgot.
So take the opposite. So
Mr. Steinberg gives him a promotion.
Right. And so this, man, I can't think of a, situation where the rest of the AFC had the opportunity to put the foot on the throat of the Baltimore Ravens, because I think if Lamar Jackson comes back, because he didn't look good before he got kicked in the back, and he got smashed in the back. But if he's ready to go, and they're in a position where they're hosting a playoff game, man, they could make a run. Why can't they make a run?
They could be the best. You could argue if there was a Baltimore Ravens fan out there, shout out to my brother Jordan, But,
He's a Ravens fan?
He's a big Ravens fan, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, he's a Ravens fan.
Okay.
I've asked him to borrow the Ravens jersey for this background here. He still has to give it to me. But, if a Ravens fan came to me and they said, hey, you know what? This is the best team in the AFC. This is the best team in the AFC. I wouldn't necessarily agree, but I wouldn't say that they're wrong. You know what I'm saying? They could be right. This could be the best team. If Derrick Henry's doing what he was doing, if you got Lamar Jackson, 2-time MVP, playing the way he normally does, they could be the best team. There's no real standout AFC team, clear cut, is going to just plow through the Super Bowl, but that could be this Baltimore Ravens team. So, I can't take the Steelers here. Give me the Ravens. Let's go.
Yeah, the Ravens
I know you
are
took
dangerous.
the spread. I know you took the opposite way, but is that opposite way also with the straight up win or just with the spread?
I think the Ravens win, but I think it's a field goal, so I will take the spread. I'll take the Steelers with the points, but I do believe that the Ravens will win, but this is going to be a tight one. But Baltimore is better. They're better.
Yeah.
And without DK Metcalf, I'm afraid that the Steelers don't have the weapons for Aaron Rodgers to get past in this game. And the Ravens are a smart organization that I think they'll come in with a great game plan. They're a little healthier on the defensive side of the football, and they're hotter, right? They just came off a huge road win in Green Bay, and the Steelers shit the bed. They shit the bed in Cleveland. They should have wrapped this up and not allowed that the Cleveland Browns, they couldn't score in Cleveland. Yeah. And I know they got a lights out defense, but they needed to find a way to win, and they didn't.
Yeah. I just want to say one thing as well. This could be, and I know we're running long here, this could be Aaron Rodgers' last game in the NFL.
It could. I mean, let's say the Steelers lose this game, and let's say they move on from Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
What is, and he wants to continue playing. Is there a team out there that would sign Aaron Rodgers up? What team is out there?
A contender? I don't know. Obviously you could, if it was no, I don't think so. I think this is it. I think this is if they don't get this win, if they make a playoff run, I think they sign Rodgers for another year. But if they don't get this win here, I think it's Aaron Rodgers' last game in the NFL. And that is crazy. That is crazy.
I got to think that the only team that would immediately call in would be the Minnesota Vikings. Say, hey.
Yeah,
I need you to come in.
That's a great potential.
So, but we'll find out. He's a little weird, man. I'm kind of over his hemming and hawing about, maybe I'll play, maybe I won't. And
yeah, I think he
needs to get over himself.
I think he walks around like he's a Hall of Fame quarterback, and I'm not saying that he doesn't, but, the guy's got one Super Bowl and he's walking around here like he's Brady. I'm sorry to say it. I love Aaron Rodgers, but I feel like he thinks he's this, all-time great quarterback, and it's you had all-time great stats, but, you got one Super Bowl, buddy. You can't be treating everybody like shit like this.
Now, what I'll say to this as being the older person in this podcast, when Aaron Rodgers was in his prime, he was outstanding. Nobody can throw a football like Aaron Rodgers, and he's a surefire Hall of Famer for sure, 100%. There's no debate. He's one of the best I've ever seen. He's just, now that he's in his older years, I think I get a little more tired about these, things he says and this coy act that am I going to play or not? Just either play or don't, man. Just don't. So we'll see how it plays out. Now, speaking of quarterbacks, we wanted to have the discussion about the MVP race in the NFL, which was Matthew Stafford's to lose. And it looks like, based on the odds makers, he's lost it because Drake May is a minus 340 to win the MVP. Well, Matthew Stafford remains number 2 at plus 270. And as much as it was unthinkable, I can see it. I understand the justification. We're talking about Drake May playing for a number 1 seed where Stafford's just hanging on. Well, do you think this is justified?
Yeah, I think it's justified, but it breaks my heart. Week in and week out, I told you guys Stafford was a lock. I said, keep rolling with him, keep rolling with him. Don't even look at anybody else. And then last week, it's crazy to think, because Stafford was minus 250 going to that game, minus 240. Looking at one game, what one game can do. 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 6 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, whatever Drake May did compared to one bad game from Stafford. It blows my mind that the line could move that much. I'll use that going forward as, if we choose MVP voting next year, use that information that it could flip on a dime. But I'm shocked. I don't even have any words. I'm done with this MVP stuff. Drake May or Stafford, I don't know anymore.
Well, you also look at they lost against the Atlanta Falcons last week. They've lost two straight. They had the big game on Thursday against Seattle a couple weeks back, which he played outstanding. They lost.
I really do think, shout out to Davante Adams. You know, I don't think it's a coincidence that he's out a couple weeks and this team decides to struggle. You know, obviously Stafford's an amazing quarterback, but having Davante Adams and Puka on the field is definitely the reason why he was MVP all along. So to see him lose that when Davante Adams is out kind of speaks on his skill level there as a wide receiver and an impact player.
Yeah, and I think the performance where Drake May put up against the Baltimore Ravens on that Sunday nighter, I think solidified it. I think when you're late in the season and then you show America how impressive you are, because they basically ran all over they put the ball up in the air and he looked great against the Ravens, bringing this team back. And I think that solidified it right there. Right there. It solidified it. So we'll see how that plays out, but it looks like Drake May, second-year quarterback for the New England Patriots, will be your NFL MVP unless something absolutely unexpected happens in Week 18, which I can't see it happening. But that's the MVP race. That is the story for Week 18 in the NFL, betting action on the Overrated Experience. Any other final comments about any other sporting item, Austin?
No, we've covered a lot on this podcast. I had what I had to say with the the free leg trick. You know, we came at you with the concrete fact today, so I think I've said everything I want to say. And I wish you guys luck, bet responsibly, and make some money this week.
Congratulations to you being the 416 champion. Pretty much a walkthrough. Like, it really wasn't much of a fight in the final. Your fight was in the semifinal where you took me out and then wiped out your opponent in the final. So congratulations.
Yep. 3-time 416 champion, 3-time champ. I dominate this league.
Well, you got
make sure you start it next year. I want some more money, baby. Let's go.
Whoa. And then just for a shout out for our hockey fans out there, Olympic rosters were announced, and the big story was who was left off of some of these rosters. So for Team Canada, leaving off Sam Bennett does not make any sense to me. He was a significant member of the Four Nations team that knocked off the U.S. He has been a 2-time Stanley Cup champion the last 2 years and a significant part of that, and has had a great year this year. There is no rhyme or reason why he's left off this roster, and it will all be forgot if the Canada team wins gold medal. But if they don't, it will haunt John Cooper and this Canada executive committee or team, Doug Armstrong, who put this roster together, if they lose and don't win gold. And this will be the talking point 100%, but no reason to leave them off. The United States left off Jason Robertson off the Dallas Stars, which is also head scratching because he's had a fantastic season, one of the up-and-coming U.S. players. So a lot of things to talk about. We'll see how it plays out in February in the Olympics. But the Overrated Experience is, we've talked enough. This podcast has run long. The pleasure's all been yours. The Overrated Experience is over. And out.
Sorry, one more thing to note. Hopefully we can get a playoff picture going before the games start next week and make some predictions for you guys there.
Yeah, remember those games start Saturday.
Let's try to get on the podcast Friday night or before that even, and get some playoff predictions done. I'll be free a lot this week. I don't know about you.
All right. Well, I also want you to look at player props as well as to fill up the time.
Sounds good.
That's your marching orders. All right. The Overrated Experience is over and out.
Awesome from Ajax, out.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody.